Braun Strowman continues to be mad about absolutely everything. Riddle and Orton's chemistry continues to grow. And Drew McIntyre lays out Lashley and Stroman in the main event. We're going to get to that and so much more for your Monday Night Raw review right here on the WWE podcast. Stay right here. We'll be right back. So we all know that there are dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of MMA podcasts out there. But I've got one for you that I guarantee you haven't listened to yet. It's called Fat Guy and a Little Host. It's an MMA podcast that is not your average MMA podcast. There are so many out there that are serious and really just not intelligible. This is not one of them. Not only are the hosts really funny and intelligent about MMA, they actually know what the hell they're talking about, but the audio quality is A+. And that is so important when you're listening to any podcast. Its listenability is absolutely reliant on the quality of the audio. And I actually think it might be better than this podcast as far as the audio quality goes. So maybe I'll have to step up my game. But guys, go check out Fat Guy and a Little Host. It's an MMA podcast. It's hosted by Mark and Matt. It is very well done. And you can find them anywhere that podcasts are available, such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Go search for Fat Guy and a Little Host. Go get your fill of MMA and comedy all wrapped into one. Go check them out today.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, your number one source for the latest in WWE news and straightforward analysis. Are you ready to get this thing going?
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Then let's get this show started right now.
All right, everybody, and welcome to the WWE Podcast. It's your Monday Night Raw review for this Tuesday, May 4th, 2021. It's May. And no, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. And if you are wondering what I might not or am not going to say, well, I won't say it, but somebody else will.
It's gonna be May.
Okay, well, let me make a promise. That is the one and only time you will ever hear a boy band on this show. Not even an currently existing boy band. But how about that? I bet you didn't expect this show to start with NSYNC. And it's not even really applicable, right? Because it's not going to be May. It already is. So I guess this is 11 and a half months late, more than that, till May of 2022. So, all right. Well, that meme has certainly worn itself out. But if I haven't already tuned out most of the listeners, we are here to talk about Monday Night Raw. And I'm going to absolutely dive into that. A lot of good, a lot of bad, which certainly seems to be the theme in WWE. And some people may say, well, that should be with any show. You're not going to like everything. Yeah, but there shouldn't be such extremes, I feel like. There shouldn't be such an extreme dichotomy of content. There should be some kind of consistent, okay, I don't really like it, but I understand it, and this is really good. Not, oh my God, this is awful, and man, this is really good. I don't know what's causing the massive polarization of the product right now, at least in my mind. Again, extremely subjective. Anything wrestling is extremely subjective. So we're going to get to that. We're going to get to my thought on Eva Marie's trailer. Yeah, her vignette, whatever you want to call it. But first, I want to give some shout outs here to our newest patrons, as Patreon is really starting to grow now. And you know what? I think rightfully so, and I'll get to why in a minute. But the latest patron, Mr. HBK Fazo. Oh boy. If I'm Fazo or Fazo, I'm going to say Fazo. Mr. HBK, thank you so much for your patronage. And the last few that we had, if I didn't already mention it, for Ferran, Derek Manton, which I believe I already did mention, and Jim Hansford. I think I forgot to mention you, Jim. If I did, my apologies. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and you get a completely ad-free experience listening to this show. But you know what? You can join them over at Patreon as things start to grow here. Why? Because we are offering a lot more than we used to over on our Patreon page. Yes, you get your ad-free and $1 for our entire library. But beyond that, and a shout out, if you go up in tier, right? There's a $10 tier, a $25 tier, and a Hall of Fame level $50 tier. What you get on those other ones, and I'm going to be making a quick video and posting it on this page. I don't want to make this an infomercial, but I think it's smart of me to kind of let you know what's available if you're interested. Yes, you get shout-outs, okay? You get our weekly Wrestling Nostalgia podcast that's exclusive to Patreon, which is moved, by the way. No longer, Wrestling Nostalgia is no longer available on this feed. Our weekly, newly beginning What If segment that I'm doing with co-host Anthony DeMarco is going to be available from the $10 tier and up. And you also get a priority placement in our mailbag show. That's tomorrow. And also what's new for every other one of these, from our $10 tier through our $25 and $50 tier, you get access to a private Discord server to chat with me and others during pay-per-views, where we will just have discussions. We can do whatever we want, talk about what the heck we're seeing in WWE. And as you go up, of course, the $25 tier gives you a free mug. The $50 tier gives you a free mug, a free t-shirt for the WWE podcast. You get a personalized video shout out. You can come on the show. You can pick a topic and I'll talk about it, that kind of thing. But check it out, guys. Okay, that's enough of that. I don't want to make this a big infomercial. That's why I'm talking kind of fast, because I know you're here for Raw. I respect that. Just head on over to patreon.com/WWE podcast. Check all of that out. If you have any questions or anything, let me know. Anything you'd like to see or how we can improve, let me know. Okay, real WWE podcast @gmail.com is the email. Please give us a try. I think you will be happy, even if you stick around just for the $1 a month, right? Like $1 a month. What the heck is that? Like pennies a day for no ads on any shows we've ever done, right? And then as you go up, you get exclusive shows. Mimi's even put in a couple of shows in there, surprise shows about her thoughts on the women's division, the current state of the women's division. A lot of content is going to be going on Patreon that you won't hear here soon. So, all right, let's continue on with Monday Night Raw. Hopefully ad-free for those of you listening. But, okay, I want to start with Braun Strowman. I do. And if you've heard me on this show before with co-hosts Zach Smith, who joined me on the Weekend Review, if you haven't checked that out, check it out. We did cover Braun Strowman. And I continue to say that week after week, the dude is talented. He's extremely athletic for a big man. He has an on-air presence. It seems like he's growing his hair back. I don't know, for whatever that's worth. He's just trying to change things up. It's fine. I get it. But the dude is so one-dimensional. I think he's a big asset to the roster. Let me just say that up front. I'm not advocating for Braun Strowman being fired. I'm not advocating for him leaving the Raw to go to SmackDown. No. I'm fine with him on Raw. I'm fine with him as a character, but I'm just fine with it. And I don't want to be fine with Braun Strowman, who I feel has more to give and show. And it's not, again, in ring, I have no problems. The guy, I think, has maxed out what his body is capable of given his size. It's, to me, his personality, his gimmick, that is so one-dimensionally angry at everything and everyone all of the time, every day. That's what it feels like. The dude is just chronically angry. And as a monster, as we all know that he is, if you haven't heard, he's the monster among men. I know that's probably news. I understand that there needs to be an anger component to his character. There should be. Absolutely. If you're a monster, what kind of monster would you be if you didn't get angry? But he's so heavy on the anger side and so light on any other dimension to himself that he's becoming uninteresting very quickly, if he's not already uninteresting to you now. I don't know why he's so angry at everything all the time. It's perhaps they don't know what to show other than that side. I'm not asking that he comes out next week and, recites poetry. But perhaps just talking normally and not always having to, even if he's talking, even if he's not yelling, right? Like you can still see the anger in his eyes. The way he talks, it's like he's just always about to snap. I don't like that. Okay. Especially if he's supposed to be a babyface character, kind of. He's kind of in the tweener because I don't know what they know what to do with him. I think that's a problem with a lot of other individuals, particularly in the women's division. We'll get to that with Asuka, Charlotte, and Rhea Ripley. I have some things I want to comment on there of how just insanely miscast right now the women's division is, and that they need to do some flip-flopping quickly. But for this particular piece with Braun Strowman, again, him and Lashley, they tore it up on Raw. They're both extremely good athletes, extremely strong, ring generals, I would say, at this point in their career, particularly Lashley. A lot of L's there. But Braun Strowman holds his own, and he's improved in the ring. But I don't know what it is. Does anybody else feel this way about Braun Strowman? There's just he's so just like scratch deep. So we all know that there are dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of MMA podcasts out there. But I've got one for you that I guarantee you haven't listened to yet. It's called Fat Guy and a Little Host. It's an MMA podcast that is not your average MMA podcast. There are so many out there that are serious and really just not intelligible. This is not one of them. Not only are the hosts really funny and intelligent about MMA, they actually know what the hell they're talking about, but the audio quality is A+. And that is so important when you're listening to any podcast. Its listenability is absolutely reliant on the quality of the audio. And I actually think it might be better than this podcast as far as the audio quality goes. So maybe I'll have to step up my game. But guys, go check out Fat Guy and a Little Host. It's an MMA podcast. It's hosted by Mark and Matt. It is very well done. And you can find them anywhere that podcasts are available, such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Go search for Fat Guy and a Little Host. Go get your fill of MMA and comedy all wrapped into one. Go check them out today. Due to COVID, a lot of things in the world changed, including healthcare. Telehealth has become the norm, where you can now see a doctor via video call 24 hours a day from anywhere. But did you know that you can visit a doctor for as little as $29? Check out our friends at medandbeyond.com. They are offering a limited time special. Visit a doctor for only $29 exclusively for Florida, New York, New Jersey, Michigan, and North Carolina residents. See a doctor within 5 minutes, 24/7, 365 days a year for prescriptions, advice, or even a doctor's note. Access top doctors and quality care without needing health insurance. It's time to try medandbeyond.com and find out how convenient telehealth can be for you and your family. Download the app today and access affordable quality healthcare from anywhere. Visit medandbeyond.com.
Welcome back to the WWE Podcast. Let's get back to more great wrestling audio.
There's nothing to him beyond the surface, and I want to know more behind this. Beyond the surface. If they're trying to position him as a babyface, can we maybe get a little bit of a backstory of Braun Strowman? Can we? I'm not talking about the network, because the network is inconsequential of the storylines going on. I'm talking about an in-storyline character development video piece for Braun Strowman. Because think about this. How long have we known Braun Strowman? Okay, I know he debuted in the Wyatt family, 6-7 years ago? And since then, he has tipped over big things. And he screams really loud like a monster. He says he's the monster among men every single promo. WWE, thank God, took away the train sound effect, at least it seems for the time being, when he does his silly run around the ring. They try to incorporate a train analogy to Braun Strowman. I get it. They need something new. They feel the monster among men marketing slogan has run its course, and I understand that. I think to some degree a lot of the juice has been squeezed out of it. So they felt that they needed to kind of take a new direction, and a train seemed like a good fit. And I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world, but it's a little hokey cheesy. And my point is, since he's been in the Wyatt family, what have we learned about Braun Strowman? Can anybody tell me anything character-wise? Like, what's important to him? Why is he here? What is his mission? The fact that I have to ask that and I'm not confident in those answers tells me they haven't done even the basics with Braun Strowman as character development. In terms of character development, they haven't done anything. Well, that's not fair. They've done the bare minimum, and his size has gotten him by. His size and, you know what, in-ring ability has gotten him this far. His promos are just kind of very, very formulaic. They're not bad, but they make you feel nothing. You're just like, you're soulless when you hear Braun Strowman talk because you don't feel anything for his character. Like, you just want to see, okay, it's fun to see him get, beat people up, but I don't feel anything for Braun Strowman. And I feel like I should at this point. It's very simple, though. This is a very simple solution. He's not beyond repair because you've got a nearly polished performer. It's called character development. Period. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. So I'll leave it at that before I go in circles and repeat myself. And somebody gives me a nasty review on Apple Podcasts or whatever. You know what I should do is do like a segment. I've heard a lot of podcasts do this. A segment where I read the comments or read my reviews on Apple Podcasts or wherever, because you guys would enjoy some of them. And some of them hate us. I'll tell you that. Some people think we're racist, which I'd love to see the evidence of that. Some people think that some people love us to death, and some people say there's too many ads, but that comes with any podcast that you try and monetize. So that's just, I get it. But, I don't know. I thought about that, should I, maybe even I'll do that on Patreon or something, where I'll just, read the comments and react to them in real time. Maybe it's not a bad idea. Patreon's going to be where it's at. I'm telling you guys. Okay. So that's what I think about Braun Strowman. A really long open to the show here. But Braun Strowman, again, I'm not ranting about it because I like the dude. It just, there's nothing more than what I see. I don't want to look at him and go, oh, what I see is what I get. No. I want to believe that there's more to him than just Mr. Angry Man that tips over big things and me lift you up and slam you down. Like, he kind of feels like a big buffoon. Zach Smith and I, on our Sunday night review, our weekend review, alluded to the fact that Shane McMahon may actually be right. At least how he's presented on TV. He sometimes looks very stupid. He does. He kind of comes off that way once in a while. And so, anyway, I want to move on. But okay, so Drew McIntyre lays both Lashley and Stroman out with a Claymore. We haven't seen the Claymore in a while, so that was nice to see it come back. And Drew McIntyre ends up, again, laying both of the guys out after Lashley beat Stroman via distraction. And next week, Lashley is going to face McIntyre, and you can bet that Braun Strowman is going to be involved some way, somehow. The last thing I'll say about the Braun Strowman thing, not character-wise, but throughout the show, anytime Drew McIntyre would be, I don't know, having an interview with Kayla or whatever, it seemed like Braun Strowman was right there to respond. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy's a big dude. Are we all supposed to believe that nobody saw him coming? And that within 10 seconds of McIntyre saying something, Strowman would come on the mic and get in his face about something and show us how angry he is again? I mean, is Braun Strowman following McIntyre around the arena? That's how close they've been over on Monday Night Raw. That's how close that their segments were. Speaking segments when they were talking to Kayla. Like, it was really bizarre. So anyway, that's my thought in the main event. Again, good main event. Drew McIntyre standing tall was fun because I feel like we haven't seen that in a while. I will say, what is Drew McIntyre's future beyond the WWE Championship? Because it feels as if they don't know what to do without McIntyre in the WWE Championship picture. And yes, I believe Zach did allude to this, so I am stealing Zach Smith's point that he made on our show. So he's not here to defend himself, so nothing like a cowardly thing to do than steal something from a man that can't defend himself because he's not here. So I think that says something about me. But for real, I feel like WWE doesn't know what to do, and it was a good point with Drew, because I think it's very clear that Drew McIntyre is not going to regain the WWE Championship anytime soon, and that's fine. Yeah, I think that's fine. Lashley needs a full-fledged run to see what he can do, which has been kind of vanilla. I think vanilla. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just it's okay. It's vanilla, right? But with Drew, I think that the next time they crown him is going to be in front of maybe 80,000 people in Dallas. They could wait all the way to next year's WrestleMania to give Drew that moment that was stolen from him at WrestleMania 36, to give it to him at WrestleMania 38 in front of a proper, full capacity crowd. To me, that's what I've always believed. But it's going to be weird when Drew is out of the WWE Championship picture and just in a program just to beat somebody up because of it's personal. So I'm going to be very interested to see how and what that looks like, because he's always talking about the WWE Championship and how he's going to get it back and all this stuff. What are his, I don't know. It's just weird, right? It feels like he's just been chronically in the WWE title picture one way or the other. And I don't know how it's going to feel. I'm sure they'll do fine, but it's just a fun thought to think about. Okay. So another big thing that happened on Raw, which happened at the top of the show, AJ Styles and Omos. Now, can we just settle what his name is? I feel like nobody truly knows. Because even throughout the show, we had two different pronunciations on air. I believe Kofi and or Xavier Woods said Omos, yet the announcers pronounced it Omos. You would think, based on how the English language is dictated, that OMOS is pronounced Omos. So which is it? Can somebody just settle this debate once and for all, please? Because even WWE can't get it consistent on their own product. So I don't know. I'm just going to call him Omos because Omos sounds better to me, although Omos is, I guess, correct per the English language. I don't know. So anyway, let's move on. AJ Styles and Omos, they returned, and it was... He said that they were on vacation. Styles said the reason they were gone since they were on vacation to celebrate. And he reminded us that he became a Grand Slam champion in 5 years. And the New Day arrived and called them out for not being around like fighting champions. Oh, can we... I'm going to try to take a sidestep from that rant about the New Day. The New Day, they should just be heels at this point. If they're not going to break them up, it's a shame that the crowd's not there to turn them heel, regardless if WWE wants to or not. I cannot handle the New Day anymore. I haven't been able to stomach them for many years, but they won't break them up because I don't know. They don't know what to do with Xavier or Kofi if they do. But they talk about being fighting champions as if that's not stomach churning, say your prayers, take your vitamins, squishy enough. That, again, what did I tell you guys? The narrative when you're a babyface capturing a championship or trying to capture a championship, what are you supposed to do? 1, you smile a lot. 2, you have to mention about being a fighting champion. It's like clockwork around here, guys. I cannot, that kind of stuff I can't handle. But we got a a match between Omos and the New Day. Again, how the New Day got a championship match is still to be discovered. They just did. It was a WrestleMania rematch. I will say I will be very excited when we can no longer mention WrestleMania. As much as we love WrestleMania, we've been talking about it since Rumble, since January. It is now May, and we are still. I almost played the insane clip again. Almost did it. This close, guys. This close. I didn't want to send any of you over the edge, but we're in May, and we are still talking about WrestleMania in one form or another. I mean that's too much. It's too much. But this match was good. We got a phenomenal forearm to Woods from Omos' shoulders for the win. It was good. I think that this puts them on a different level from anybody else. I'm glad the New Day got destroyed. They haven't ever been one of my favorites. I'll leave it there. You know what? I don't want to rant for you guys. But Omos, see, I do it to myself. And Styles have chemistry there. Yes, they had a generic heel kind of celebration at the beginning, but they seem like they have a little bit of momentum here, and it's almost like to reintroduce them to the WWE fans. It's like, oh yeah, that's right, we have Raw Tag Team Champions. So, okay, let's see here. John Morrison and The Miz. Or Damian Priest and John Morrison here. I don't. This is all WrestleMania, just backwash. Maybe that's what they should call this pay-per-view. I think I came up with something here just on the fly. This is WrestleMania backwash. It's not backlash. This is backwash. This is just like, particularly this program. I never want to see Damian Priest and John Morrison even in the same ring again, in the same room, hear them in the same sentence. Same with The Miz. This is enough. But if you're looking at this from a standpoint of pure wrestling and didn't know the story behind it, this was a good match. It was good. I think it was just one that was technically sound, solid, but unfortunately it was all about the childish prank that happened last week with the tomatoes. Oh my God. Because we got to have a food fight. Okay. Priest did pick up the win over Morrison to exactly 0 people's surprise. So, fine, whatever. Lucha House Party versus Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. Oh boy. So, Metalik ended up getting the win for his team with an elbow drop from the top rope. I'm reading the results here, guys, because this was not a part of Hulu. Alexander grabbed a mic after it was over and ripped into Benjamin for being the weak link. He said they're done as a tag team before storming off. Oh boy. Yeah, so does anybody even care right now? Does anybody even care about the fact that Shelton and Cedric are broken up? I would have cared more if they were in the Hurt Business and this happened. But they have had dissension since day one as a tag team. And if it ends up being Cedric, becoming a star out of this, fine. And it is actually better than them losing on a weekly basis to the lower end of the tag team division. So you know what? It actually isn't such a bad thing. But for Shelton, I fear that it's, might be the end of his run in WWE here. Okay. What else happened on Monday Night Raw? Charlotte Flair defeats Dana Brooke, and Flair was added by Sonya Deville to the Women's Championship at Backlash. And so we have 2 triple threats, because apparently their justification was, Sonya Deville's justification was, the men have a triple threat, we should. Well, that's actually backwards, because if they have a triple threat, why would you duplicate a match that already exists? It makes no sense. It's not about making sure that we do what the men do. In fact, it should be, let's not do what the men are doing to differentiate ourselves. But hey, what the hell do we know? So this match was fine. Dana Brooke, as expected, loses. And, poor Dana. When is the last... You know what? At one point, I did look up her stats, her win-loss record. So let me do that right now. And this is courtesy of the Internet Wrestling Database. So if you guys just search for Internet Wrestling Database, give them credit. Really, really cool website with so much data. If you ever want to look at actual win-loss records, not that they really matter, but they are interesting. So here's Dana Brooke's record. This is just WWE. This is not NXT, there, even though they are WWE. I'm just talking about Raw, SmackDown. She has 59 wins, believe it or not, 59, 2 draws, and 144 losses. So what does that measure out to percentage-wise? She loses 70.24% of her matches. I actually thought that would be higher. I thought it'd be in the 80, 85 range. But still, kind of piss poor in terms of a win-loss record. And, so I just wanted to bring that up just because I'm sure, people sometimes do care about the win-loss records. You know what? Deservedly so, because wins and losses should matter. But Dana Brooke ends up losing here to Charlotte Flair. And it's the right move. Charlotte Flair, being added to the Women's Championship match. I thought about it, and yes, their logic for doing it was silly because, the men are doing it. No, that's bad. But I think it's the right move because Charlotte Flair and Asuka and Rhea Ripley did not have good matches together. They just didn't. They were clunky, being nice about it. So adding Charlotte Flair, certainly a positive. She will make the match much, much more interesting. But we got Rhea Ripley coming out after it was announced that she was going to be a part of the match, and Asuka comes out, and she's all cartoonish, and I don't understand this segment, right? Because Charlotte Flair gets added. Again, we don't know, though. There's some kind of dynamic between Sonya Deville and Charlotte that we don't know yet. We don't know why Charlotte is being afforded these opportunities and Sonya Deville going behind Adam Pearce's back and doing this. We don't even know why or how Sonya Deville got in this position. How is she a WWE official from a performer? How did that happen? That wasn't explained, but they never will. So I would assume that at some point we will be told what the connection is between Charlotte and Sonya. So we all know that there are dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of MMA podcasts out there, but I've got one for you that I guarantee you haven't listened to yet. It's called Fat Guy and a Little Host. It's an MMA podcast that is not your average MMA podcast. There are so many out there that are serious and really just not intelligible. This is not one of them. Not only are the hosts really funny and intelligent about MMA, they actually know what the hell they're talking about, but the audio quality is A+. And that is so important when you're listening to any podcast. Its listenability is absolutely reliant on the quality of the audio. And I actually think it might be better than this podcast as far as the audio quality goes. So maybe I'll have to step up my game. But guys, go check out Fat Guy and a Little Host. It's an MMA podcast. It's hosted by Mark and Matt. It is very well done. And you can find them anywhere that podcasts are available, such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Go search for Fat Guy and a Little Host. Go get your fill of MMA and comedy all wrapped into one. Go check them out today.
Welcome back to the WWE Podcast. Let's get back to more great wrestling audio.
So that is that. But here's what I want to talk about with the women's division. Yes, Charlotte got the win. It's fine. And yes, the fact that they attacked each other but then stood there and didn't retaliate, all of them, was weird. But the real issue here is weird because Rhea Ripley is supposed to be a baby face, I guess. Because she came up from NXT, but I listened to the reaction and there really wasn't one that they even pumped in. Asuka, again, is supposed to play the baby face, but people, do not have a favorable view of her last run, and I don't think she has any, significant momentum going. Charlotte Flair is supposed to be the heel, yet she is the best thing going in the Raw Women's division right now, period. Maybe the best thing going on the women's division in WWE as a whole right now is Charlotte Flair. So it's hard to really hate her because it feels like she's finally just being herself. It feels like she's just finally coming out of her shell and saying, screw it, whatever. I'm not going to have a promo voice. I'm just going to be, whoever I am, and throw in a bow down to the queen every once in a while to get people to boo. But Charlotte Flair is the most authentic we've ever seen her. People connect with that. Rhea Ripley is, again, I don't know what it is about the Raw Women's Championship that just makes people disappear into the abyss, doesn't it? Again, Rhea Ripley, her run right now is extremely underwhelming. You could argue hers is more underwhelming than Bianca Belair's, and hers is underwhelming too. They just did something. It's weird. They got to WrestleMania. They made these major championship changes in the women's division, and then there's just nothing with them. They're still protecting them. They're not letting their talents or at least their wings expand, so to speak. It feels like they're just kind of keeping them there without actually having a plan to move forward, if that makes sense. They're like, okay, they made it to the top. We don't know what we're going to do with them at the top. But, hey, they're here. That's what it feels like. And I'm concerned. But Charlotte Flair is the absolute best thing happening in women's wrestling right now. So it's a weird casting of these three women. I'll say that. Weird. Charlotte as a heel is great. Rhea Ripley as kind of a tweener, I think, is not what you want to do. You don't want people feeling indifferent. You need to pick a lane. Asuka, turn her heel. Rhea, go full babyface. That's what I would do. It's fairly simple. It's right in front of you. And then we got Eva Marie, who, I got to say, looking at her, she's extremely attractive. But you know what? There's a lot of attractive women in WWE. That doesn't do it for me. I don't care about that. I could care less. That means nothing. But I will say that it feels like somebody watched a episode of Monday Night Raw in 2002 and they just said, you know what? I kind of like the way the women were dressed back then. It brought a lot of eyeballs to the product. Let's do that. It was such a regression of the women's division, and I don't want to hear it's evolution. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear any planned words. Those are empty slogans. They won't mean anything. It felt very, you know what that kind of felt like to me? This felt a little bit like Carmella when she was doing her intros, or Liv Morgan in a where the hell was she? Like a hotel bathroom or something in her promos leading up to her return, which they did nothing with. What did they do with Carmella? Nothing, essentially. Yes, they brought in Reginald, and she was the wine-sipping, untouchable that didn't even hold. And Liv Morgan, was irrelevant for like 2 weeks. And now we have Eva Marie. She's not everything red now. She is this, supercar-loving evolution. Oh, ha, ha, he, he. And by the way, I'm going to sexualize myself. I mean, look, literally, if I was to ask anybody, man or woman, what did you get out of that package? The top of the one, the number one would be sexualization, I think. It would be just kind of vivacious. It would be, I guess, all about the appeal, the sex appeal of her. Like, I don't give a crap. Like, I don't know. It felt very regressive in the women's division. I'll say that. That's not. In fact, that is the opposite of what the women's revolution was about. That's what made Lita and Trish so great. They didn't go down that road during their careers in the ring. Lita wore provocative outfits. Trish really didn't. But their in-ring spoke for itself. Eva Marie, when I remember her in-ring, it really wasn't that great. Maybe she's made strides. But my point is, it felt very regressive for the women. Too much about the appeal, sex appeal, and not enough substance. And I hope this is not something to come. I really do. Maybe you guys read into it differently, but I was very concerned about that promo. It felt very 2001, 2002 to me. Angel Garza defeats Drew Gulak. Okay. Moving on. I mean, really, moving on. He used the wing clipper. Fine. You can tell that one wasn't on Hulu, right? Randy Orton and Riddle defeat Elias and Jackson Riker. Now, many of you have written into me and said, this is the worst thing ever with Riddle and Orton. Riddle is awful. And you know what? I've agreed now. I've already explained myself on why I'm starting to turn on this pairing. And we all know an eventual RKO is coming on Matt Riddle. You would think an eventual RKO is coming, perhaps as early as next week. But the more I think about it, the more I think that WWE thinks that they are onto something, an RK bro. And, you know, their on-screen chemistry is undeniable. It's there. Randy Orton is playing that kind of serious, the grizzled veteran that just doesn't have time for this nonsense. And Riddle's playing kind of like the annoying younger brother that makes no sense. And he's talking about getting snake skin tights and putting a viper on the back. And, we had the funniest part of Raw was when Matt Riddle zipped up his mouth and took an imaginary key and put it in Randy Orton's hand, and Randy Orton, took it. I mean, that was funny. That was funny. Randy Orton doing comedy, yet not changing his character. That's the key. I don't need Randy Orton changing a thing. I don't need Randy Orton coming down to the ring next week, holding hands with Matt Riddle. No. These opposing characters right now, somehow, some way, have chemistry together. They could have possibly caught lightning in a bottle. And we'll see how far they take it, or if they think that Randy Orton just hitting the RKO, these two have a match, and then they both go their separate ways, is more important. Or if they think that they have something here and they'll string it out longer than they ever expected to. Because I don't think anyone expected Orton and Riddle to have this chemistry right now. This is good. I've got to say, I'm not saying the Riddle character is good. I'm saying when he has Randy Orton to play off of, there's something there, man. I know that your people are screaming, no, but I don't know. That's just how I feel. It's insane, but hey, I'm glad that I'm eating my words about this. I really am. When I have to eat my words, it's usually for a good thing. But Randy Orton and Riddle, of course, get the victory very easily over Elias and Jackson Riker. As if Jackson Riker and Elias have even racked up one win, have they? I don't think they have. I have to say Jackson Riker, and even the announcers pointed this out, probably in the best shape out of the entire roster. I mean, of course, that's also subjective too, but the dude is jacked and has zero body fat. I mean, Jackson Riker is just clearly eating, lean chicken and greens and zero fat. I mean, he is following his diet to an absolute T. So congrats to Jackson Riker, who has yet to rack up a win. That's to say that. Okay, Sheamus defeats Mansoor by DQ. So, hey, Mansoor, unless you are in Saudi Arabia, you do not have the superpowers to win a match. I mean, if Mansoor was in a WWE Championship title match at, say, Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia, the dude would probably win. I mean, he cannot lose in Saudi Arabia because he is the hometown boy. But Sheamus wins. How he won, though, was, of course, by DQ. And Humberto Carrillo emerged, attacked Sheamus as payback for early in the night. Backstage, he attacked Humberto. And Sheamus just came back and hit a bro kick on Humberto and Mansoor. So Sheamus still stands tall. Don't forget, guys, Sheamus is your United States champion. Bet y'all forgot about that. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defeat Naomi and Lana in a women's tag team title match. Anybody explain how they got that match? How'd they get that championship match? Anybody? No, I could be wrong. I just don't remember them earning a match. It's just suddenly they have one, and it wasn't promoted at all. So Lana did tap to the Karafuda clutch. Does anybody expect less? Lana's had a very interesting career. A very interesting career. You know, she's gone from, to me, the best role she ever had was the business associate of Rusev. The whole crush thing. And then she did the dirty with Dolph Ziggler, one of the dirty dogs. And she was in like jean skirts and making out with him backstage. And Rusev was calling her a cold fish in bed. Then she gets back with Rusev. She goes off on her own. Then, you know, she gets injured. She goes back. Lana has had just a bizarre career. I know she's trying to make it in her own right, and I respect that. I do. As much as we all may complain about Lana in the ring, and she's not as good as some of the women, we don't know how hard she's working behind the scenes, right? We don't. So, I think the last thing I didn't mention, of course, is Lily, where we have Alexa talk to us about Lily again, and saying how Lily has her eyes on somebody. She says her favorite color's red. I think Alexa said that and winked. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I'm sure something. Somebody has a theory out there. But we have Lily, who is telling her what to do, that it wasn't, it's not my fault. Lily made me do it. Kind of like all these creepy horror, classic horror film references. And I have no problem with this. I think Alexa Bliss is, again, doing a very good job. And it's going to be interesting for us to all speculate as to who she could be targeting, likely at Backlash in a couple of weeks, just under a couple of weeks. So, who knows? She has a target. I'm glad. Target acquired, as they say. So, let me know what you guys think. Who do you think Alexa Bliss is going to attack first? Who is she going to get into a program with first? So, that is my Monday Night Raw review, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know I have. Monday Night Raw was, again, noteworthy. Not the worst, not the best. A lot of great, a lot of bad. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll be back tomorrow night with a mailbag show on the free feed here. But, of course, the Nostalgia Show will be exclusive on Patreon. If you want to get yourself over to Patreon, and for $1, you can get that show as well as all of our shows ad-free. Head on over to patreon.com/WWE podcast, as well as, check out the page, guys. There's a lot of new benefits that are there for the higher tiers. So check that out, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show. But that is all for me for this evening. I hope everyone's having a great day or evening or night, and I will talk to you next time.